Last summer, I was a park ranger. I was 33 years old, and after a hard breakup, I found myself wandering the woods near my childhood home. I thought these woods were my refuge point one afternoon. I was checking on a fallen tree when I stumbled upon something odd. There was a staircase right in the middle of the trees. It looked old and out of place, like it didn't belong there. The paint was chipped and peeling away. I felt uneasy, but curiosity pulled me in. Why was there a staircase here? I thought about walking away, but I climbed the first step. It felt solid, but a chill ran through me. I looked around. Everything seemed normal, yet something felt very wrong. I promised myself I'd come back the next day to figure it out. Each day I returned. Each time, the staircase seemed more pronounced. The brush around it grew thick, almost like it was hiding the steps. I noticed strange sounds, barely audible laughter and whispers. It sent chills down my spine. I questioned myself. Why did I keep coming back? Was I losing my mind? I needed to understand what was going on. One evening, I stood there long after sunset. The forest took on a strange life. The whispers grew louder, the giggles clearer. My fingers shook as I reached for my flashlight. I turned it on and aimed it at the stairs. The beam flickered. I thought I saw something at the top, a shadow, maybe. I wasn't sure. I glanced around again. Everything felt darker. My heart was pounding as I called out, "Hello?" No answer came. But then, I felt something like a presence was watching me. Just as I decided to leave, I heard a voice right next to me. "Why are you afraid?" it asked plainly. I froze. My mind raced, yet I saw no one. Panic filled me as I turned to run. The shadows flickered, and then laughter erupted from the trees, echoing loudly. I stumbled backward, knowing I had to escape. I dropped my flashlight, plunging into darkness. The sounds grew louder, closer. I felt something rush past me. I couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. It was terrifying. I ran and didn't stop. I crashed through the brush, branches snapping against me. I didn't look back. I could still hear the laughter, like it was mocking me. It followed me all the way to my truck. Breathless, I got inside and slammed the door. For weeks, I didn't return to those woods. I thought I could forget, that nothing would pull me back. But I knew the staircase still stood there, waiting. I didn't understand why it had drawn me in or what I found there. All I knew was that I could never go back. I could still hear that laughter sometimes, lingering like a ghost in my mind. That staircase will forever haunt me. The days passed slowly, each one marked by my growing unease. I tried to distract myself. I worked longer shifts at the park, hoping to bury the memories deep. But in quiet moments, I'd hear the laughter, like a taunt echoing in the dark recesses of my mind. Then one afternoon, my curiosity got the better of me. I told myself I needed closure. I could ignore the stairs, but I couldn't ignore what was happening to me. I packed my things and made my way back to the woods. As I walked, I felt heavier with each step. The path looked the same but felt different, like I was entering forbidden territory. When I reached the clearing, the air felt charged with something I couldn't describe. The staircase still stood, just as I remembered. But now, it looked almost alive. I could hear the whispers swirling around me, mixing with rustling leaves. "You came back," a soft, childlike voice said. My heart sank. I turned, but there was nobody there. Just a thick wall of trees closing in around me. "Hello?" I called, chaos swirling inside me. The laughter answered a soft giggle that sent a shiver down my spine. I took a step back. This wasn't just a prank. It felt as if the woods themselves had come alive, wanting to draw me in. I reached for my flashlight. My fingers trembled as I pressed the button. This time it worked. The beam cut through the dimness and illuminated the steps like a spotlight. They seemed to beckon me, each one inviting me to ascend. My heart raced. Then, something shifted behind me. I spun around, and to my surprise I saw a figure. It was a girl, no older than 10. She stood just at the edge of the trees, her clothes tattered and dirty. Her eyes were wide but strangely serene. "Come play," she said, her voice a haunting melody that flirted with the edges of my consciousness. I felt a mix of fear and fascination. "Who are you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Why did you leave?" she asked, tilting her head. "You can't leave us." "Who is us?" I managed to ask. Panic seeped into my chest. I wanted to run, but I couldn't take my eyes off her. Suddenly, the laughter escalated, filling the air like a looming storm. Shadows danced around us, swirling like a tempest. I stepped back towards the staircase. I couldn't fathom what was happening. "Why do you want me here?" I shouted, desperate for answers. "Because we want to play," she replied, her smile turning darker, more sinister. The ground beneath me shook. My instincts screamed to flee, but I was rooted to the spot. Just when I thought I could move, the girl pointed towards the stairs. "You can't go back until you join us," she said, her voice now echoing in a way that made my heart pound wildly. That S when a cold wind swept through the clearing. Everything went dark. I felt lost, surrounded by both shadows and laughter, and all I could hear was that chilling giggle following me. Panic surged, and I finally turned to run. But there was no escape. The woods closed around me, trapping me in a nightmarish embrace. I could only wonder how far down the rabbit hole I had fallen. I stumbled forward, my heart racing as the darkness clung to me like a heavy shroud. The laughter echoed in my ears, bouncing off the trees, mocking my desperation. I couldn't see where I was going, but I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. Each step was uncertain, filled with doubt. The shadows shifted. I was certain something was chasing me, pressing closer, but every time I turned, there was nothing but the suffocating dark. I felt trapped not just by the forest, but by the memories it stirred within me. I could hear their laughter, could almost see those faces, all the kids I had lost to this place. Suddenly, I came upon an opening. My flashlight flickered weakly, illuminating a stone circle covered in moss. I stepped into it, gasping for breath. The air felt different here, thick and crackling with energy. It was as if all the laughter had funneled into this spot, creating a vibrant tension that made the hair on my arms stand up. "What is this place?" I whispered, scanning the edges for any sign of movement. The girl from earlier flashed in my mind. "What do you want from me?" In response, the laughter crescendoed, a chorus of voices swirling around me, each one more vibrant than the last. "Play with us," they chanted, their words weaving together into a single spine-chilling melody. I could feel a pull, as though they were reaching out, trying to draw me back into the woods. Just then, a rush of wind swept through the circle. I stumbled, nearly losing my balance. That S when I noticed something on the ground, a small, weathered toy. A faded red ball, cracked and worn from years of neglect, lay hidden beneath a tangle of roots. I picked it up, my fingers brushing against the rough surface. Memories flooded back, games played, laughter shared. A pang of nostalgia mixed with dread. "Let us play," I muttered, half to myself, half to the shadows. Maybe if I played along, I could find a way out. To my shock, the laughter grew louder and more urgent. Shapes began to swirl around me, the very air thickening with anticipation. Suddenly, those shadows morphed into figures, faces emerging from the dark. They looked like children, all smiling, their eyes sparkling with mischief. But there was something wrong. Their smiles widened to unnaturally large grins, and their laughter developed a sharp edge. "You weren't supposed to leave," one shouted, stepping forward, a chill washing over me. "I just wanted to understand," I stammered, instinctively retreating toward the edge of the circle. Another child joined, then another, until I was surrounded by a ring of smiling faces. "You should stay," the girl from before said, her voice eerily calm. "There's so much fun to be had." My heart pounded, a thrumming reminder of my desire to escape. "No! I have to go back," I shouted, feeling the panic clawing at my throat. In retaliation, the children's laughter turned to jeers, echoing through the trees. "No, you can't leave! Not now! Not after you've come this far!" Then, the earth shifted again. The ground beneath the stone circle began to tremble, and I felt an overwhelming sense of urgency. Something dark and monstrous was awakening below. I turned to flee, but the children closed in, their voices ringing in my ears. "Join us!" they chanted, a sound both beautiful and terrifying. The world around me spun, and just as I thought I could run, darkness enveloped me completely. In that final moment, before everything vanished, I glimpsed a flicker of light in the distance a way out. I ran towards it, driven by the survival instinct that pushed deeper than fear and uncertainty. But would I make it out before the shadows caught me? I had to try. I plunged into the light, the sudden brightness blinding me. I shielded my eyes as I stumbled forward, the forest sounds fading behind me. After what felt like an eternity, I blinked and realized I had emerged from the darkness. I stood at the edge of a meadow, the open sky stretching above me like a promise. Relief washed over me. I was out. I took a deep breath, relishing the fresh air, but the strange warmth that enveloped me didn't last long. There was something unsettling about the silence here. The laughter had vanished, replaced by an eerie quiet. It felt wrong. As I moved deeper into the meadow, I noticed a path winding to my left, leading into a thicker section of the woods. I hesitated. It was not the same dense darkness, but something compelled me to follow that path. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to discover. I treaded cautiously, glancing back toward the meadow as if expecting the children to emerge from the underbrush. My heart raced again, each beat a reminder of the shadows behind me. What had they wanted? Why were they so desperate to keep me there? The trees grew taller, their trunks twisted in unnatural shapes. I followed the path until it opened up again to reveal a strange sight. A set of worn stone steps emerged from the ground, spiraling downward. They looked ancient and out of place, almost as if they led to another world. For a moment, I felt a pull toward them, an invitation I couldn't quite trust. I knelt and brushed away the overgrown weeds. "What are you?" I murmured to myself. I leaned forward, trying to peer into the dark opening that awaited below. A chill swept through me. It felt like standing at the edge of a precipice. Something in my gut warned me against proceeding further. But I remembered the children's laughter, the dark energy mingling with the memories I had buried in my mind. I couldn't let fear win. I stood again, heart pounding, intensity rising, and before I could second-guess myself, I stepped onto the first stone. The moment my foot touched the surface, a rumble echoed from deep within the earth. Instinctively, I took a step back. The ground shook more violently, and the trees swayed, as if caught in a sudden gust of wind. "No, no!" I gasped, panic flooding back. Was this place alive? I glanced behind me, half expecting to see the children rushing toward me. The laughter was gone, but I swore I could still feel their presence. The earth calmed, but the air was thick with something sinister. I peered down the steps, and when I saw it, glimmers of light flickered at the bottom, a haunting glow that seemed to call out, promising answers to questions I hadn't even asked. I had two choices: to run back into the safety of the meadow or to descend into the unknown depths of the stairway. The laughter still echoed in my mind, reminding me of what waited in the woods. I clenched my fists, a mix of fear and determination churning inside me. In that moment of decision, I took a deep breath and started down the stone steps, feeling the eyes of the forest on my back. Whatever was waiting for me below, I had to find out. I had to understand what the shadows wanted. As I descended the steps, each footfall echoed in the darkness, the glimmers at the bottom beckoning me closer. The air grew colder with every step. I gripped the stone railing, my heart pounding against my ribs. The shadows shifted around me, as if lurking just out of sight, reminding me that I was not alone. The flickering lights below flickered with urgency, lighting my way. I quickened my pace, adrenaline surging. What lay at the bottom? I needed to see it for myself. The final step landed softly in a small cavern, the glow now wrapping around me. My eyes widened as I took in the scene. Crystals clung to the walls like ice, emanating a soft, inviting light. They pulsed gently, like the breath of something alive. In the center of the chamber stood an altar, aged and adorned with symbols I couldn't comprehend. I stepped closer, drawn in by the allure. There was a bowl carved from stone resting atop the altar, filled with a shimmering liquid. I reached out, my fingers brushing against the cold surface of the bowl. A jolt shot through me. Images flooded my mind, the laughter of children, their faces twisted in joy. But the joy shifted to something darker. Screams echoed, haunting and desperate. I jerked my hand back, heart racing. I could still hear it, a cacophony of voices merging into one deafening wail. Help us! It was so clear, so real. My breath hitched in my throat. Who were they? Why had I come here? Panic surged through me again, and I whirled around, half expecting to see the shadows converge. But the cavern remained still, too still. I glanced back at the bowl, the shimmering liquid now swirling faster, darkening at its center. No, this isn't right, I whispered, stepping back. The air thickened, making it hard to breathe. The glow from the crystals flickered wildly. I turned to escape but froze when I felt a presence behind me. Something, or someone, was there, just beyond the edge of the light. Why did you come here? A soft voice swept through the chamber, sending chills down my spine. It was a child's voice, eerily sweet yet laced with something sinister. I wanted to run, but my feet felt rooted to the ground. I couldn't see them, but I felt them. All around me, the shadows seemed to stretch and flicker, pulling me closer to the altar. You must choose, the voice continued, now louder. You can't leave without deciding. Deciding what? Panic clawed at my throat. I took a step toward the stairs, but the ground shook again, the rumbling echoing the moment I first descended. I turned back, desperate to understand. Then everything went dark. The light from the crystals vanished in an instant, plunging me into a suffocating void. My heart raced. I couldn't breathe. Help! I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the darkness. The laughter returned, but this time it wasn't friendly. It was mocking, insidious. Suddenly, a single light flickered in the distance, illuminating a figure standing at the edge of the shadows. I squinted, trying to make sense of what I saw. I had to find out who or what was there. Before I could think, I took a step forward into the abyss, determined to confront what emerged from the dark. The light flickered again, revealing a small girl, her frail figure bathed in an eerie glow. Her hair was tangled, and her eyes were unnaturally wide. You shouldn't have come here, she said softly. A chill ran down my spine as the words settled in the silence. Why not? I asked, trying to sound braver than I felt. What is this place? She took a small step forward, and the shadows around her shifted. I could see the outline of something dark flickering behind her, skimming across the walls like a wisp of smoke. I wanted to back away, but curiosity held me in place. This is where they wait, she replied, her voice almost a whisper. The ones who needed help. They're trapped until someone chooses. Chooses what? My heart thudded in my chest. Was it really possible that the voices I had heard belonged to real people? Who are they? The girl looked at me with an unsettling intensity. Their souls. They can't leave until a choice is made. She paused, her expression shifting from sadness to something almost gleeful. You have to decide if you will help them or take their place. No, I murmured, disbelief blooming inside me. I tried to shake my head, as if that could reject the reality of her words. I wouldn't take anyone's place. The girl pointed at the altar, and I felt my feet pull me closer despite my will. The bowl sat there, the liquid now bubbling violently as if disturbed by some unseen force. It will reveal the truth. You must look, she insisted. Images flashed inside my mind once more, stronger this time. I saw families, homes, laughter, but paired with fear and dread. A scene unfolded: a burning house, flashes of light that turned into shadow. I pulled away, gasping as the memories grew overwhelming. I felt a surge of heat rise within me as the shadows threatened to engulf everything. I glanced back at the girl, her eyes wide with anticipation. You have to decide, she urged again. The images in the bowl twisted into chaotic forms. All that laughter, the fear, it swirled around like a tempest. I could barely breathe. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came out. Instead, a deep instinct, an urgency, pressed against my chest, pushing me forward. I took a deep breath. I needed clarity. I leaned in closer, feeling the warmth from the bowl wrap around my fingers. Suddenly, the bubbling liquid stilled like glass, and an image emerged. I saw a family, parents, and two kids laughing around a table festooned with party decorations. But the scene shifted quickly, the light turning dark. I saw flames flickering in the windows of their home. The laughter melted away, replaced by screaming. The family was trapped, and there was nothing I could do. My chest tightened. I jerked back again, shaking my head. What does this mean? I asked desperately, turning my attention to the girl who seemed to revel in my fear. They are waiting for you, she replied, voice low and almost teasing. They can't escape the fire unless you help them. My heart raced as I processed her words. But how? I don't understand. How can I help them? The shadows throbbed around me, pulling my focus over and over again towards the altar. Suddenly, the laughter returned, echoing in the cavern like a haunting song. It felt close, almost too close. You need to choose, she repeated, an eerie smile spreading across her face. Help them or leave them to suffer. Just then, I noticed a flicker at the corner of my eye. I turned my head, expectations already bracing for more horror, but what I saw sent a wave of adrenaline through me. A shadowy figure loomed just beyond the edge of the altar, partially hidden, watching me with glowing eyes. Who are you? I croaked, taking an instinctive step back. The figure didn't answer, but it stepped closer, a dark outline in the haze. It felt hungry, as if it hungered for my choice. The girl's expression shifted again, a mix of greed and impatience blending in her features. Choose, she hissed, urgency thrumming in her voice. You can't hesitate. You'll lose everything. Everything was spiraling out of control, and I felt small. Did I even have the power to change anything? A terrible thought seized me. What if I didn't choose? Would I really be swallowed by the dark just like those trapped souls? Help them, the words pushed their way out of my lips before I could stop myself. But what would that mean? I couldn't stay trapped here in this sinister chamber forever, yet the thought of abandoning them gnawed at my insides. The shadowy figure advanced, blocking the way back. My heart raced just as the liquid in the bowl surged, swirling violently. I had to make a choice, and it needed to be now. That's when I saw it, a glimmer beneath the darkness, a faint outline of a staircase spiraling downward, appearing for just a moment. My breath caught. Where did that lead? Choose, choose, choose. The chorus of voices grew louder, fueling the chaos around me as the shadows wriggled and grew more restless. That I needed to make a choice, but my mind was spinning. Would I step into the darkness or follow the faint light I had glimpsed? Both paths felt perilous. But time was running out. A jolt of panic surged through me as I stared at the eerie staircase. It felt like the shadows were beckoning me toward darkness, and I shivered at the thought. But the desperate pleas of the family echoed in my mind. I couldn't abandon them. I took a deep breath, mustering all my courage. The girl watched me, her expression a twisted mix of delight and impatience. Choose, she cried again, her voice raising in intensity. With a forceful resolve, I stepped toward the staircase. The shadows groaned as if protesting my decision, but I pushed through. Each step felt like an eternity. The air was thick and heavy, snatching at my breath. I reached the bottom of the stairs, and the darkness opened up into another chamber. This one was smaller, lit by a strange, flickering blue light. It illuminated silhouettes dancing on the walls, twisted, grotesque shapes that reminded me of the flames from the vision. I squinted, trying to make sense of the figures moving in the light. Then, I spotted them, a faint outline of the family trapped in a cage. Their eyes were wide with fear, mouths moving silently as they cried for help. It was real, they were real. My heart thudded painfully in my chest. Let them go! I shouted, anger surging at the sight of their plight. The blue light pulsed, and I felt a force pushing against me, as though the shadows were trying to pull me back. Do you think they can really be saved? The girl's voice came out of nowhere. Look at them. They're trapped because you're too slow to make a choice. I recoiled, feeling doubt crawling in. What if I couldn't save them? Could choosing to help them end up sealing my own fate? But a flicker of determination ignited within me. I want to leave them. As I stepped forward, the shadows writhed more violently, and the caged family's cries grew louder. I reached the bars, gripping them tightly. Hold on! I yelled. I'll get you out! Suddenly, the blue light flared brighter, and a whirlwind of dark energy surged toward me, striking my chest. I stumbled back, everything spinning around me. The girl laughed. You think you can save them? They're already lost. You are all that's left. A bolt of fear threaded through me. The connection I felt to the family was strong. I couldn't give up. If I had stepped into the darkness willingly, surely I could summon enough light to combat it. I closed my eyes, feeling the emotions swell within me: fear, hope, love. They amplified until I felt them burst from my fingertips. I will not let you take them! I cried, summoning everything inside me to fight back the shadows. The energy crackled around me. The shadows shrieked in anger, trying to dull my resolve, but I pushed it back. I was determined to free the family. I needed them to see that the darkness could be beaten. Then, everything went still. The shadows paused, swirling uncertainly. The blue light became a beacon, illuminating the cage and washing over the family. But the cracks of darkness still lingered. I had to break through the final barrier. Gritting my teeth, I stepped closer to the cage. I forged ahead, ready to face whatever threat awaited. In that moment, a memory surfaced, a whisper from the bull. They need you. And I knew that I was their last hope. But as the shadows loomed behind me, I realized I was not just battling for them but for my own soul as well. The air grew charged with energy, and I felt the ground tremble beneath my feet. I couldn't afford to hesitate. I shouted louder, I'll save you! The family's frightened faces glimmered in the blue light, and their expressions propelled me forward. As I stretched out my hands toward the cage, something lunged at me from the shadows. It was a mass of darkness that twisted and coiled, moving closer, gnashing unseen jaws. Panic surged through me, but I steadied myself. Their cries were louder now, a chorus of despair that wrapped around my heart. Help us! One of them screamed, her voice full of anguish. I took a step back. Each second felt like an eternity as the shadows writhed, giving way to a figure emerging from the dark. It was a man, gaunt and hollow-eyed. His skin seemed to reflect the shadows rather than light. You shouldn't be here, he rasped, his voice a low growl. This isn't your fight. Leave now, and you'll be free. No! I retorted, summoning my courage. I want to abandon them. They need me. The resolve in my voice surprised even me. The man shook his head, a menacing smile stretching across his face. They're better off this way. You have no idea what you're getting into. You can't save them. I felt the shadows pressing in tighter around me, their cold tendrils threatening to snatch me away. My heart raced as doubt clawed at my insides. But as I watched the family straining against the cage, I felt something stirring inside me, a soft pulse, a flicker of light. Let them go! The words tore from my throat, filled with desperation. I looked back at the family, locking eyes with the little girl. Her gaze held an urgency, a silent agreement that ignited my resolve. Biting my lip, I focused on that flicker inside me. It grew warmer and spread, filling the chamber with a radiant glow. The shadows recoiled, hissing angrily. No! Stop! The man shouted, reaching out toward me. But I wouldn't stop. I took another step forward, my hands outstretched toward the cage. You are not in control. I want to let fear take over. The blue light surged brighter, and the bars of the cage began to dissolve, waves of energy washing over them. The family's eyes widened in disbelief. We're free! The woman gasped, her voice full of hope. But just as the last remnants of the cage began to disintegrate, the shadows screeched back, gathering their strength. The man lunged forward, a shadowy arm outstretched, but my light swelled, pushing him back. "Stay away from them!" I yelled, my voice echoing in the chamber. With one final cry, I summoned every drop of energy within me. The shadows recoiled, disintegrating into wisps with piercing shrieks. But in that moment, I felt a waning of strength wash over me. The light flickered, and with it, so did my confidence. The man's smile returned, a cruel twist of victory. "You think they will stay free? You cannot defeat the darkness." I gazed at the family, their faces mixing hope with fear. They were so close, yet my strength felt like it was failing. Then, just as despair began to creep in, I noticed something strange, a shimmering doorway forming in the corner of the chamber. That's when I felt a new surge within me, a resolve I hadn't known existed. But before I could grasp its meaning, the shadows surged once more, and I could hear the man laughing. "Are you willing to risk everything to find out what's on the other side?" I swallowed hard, the heaviness of his words settling in my chest. I had to decide. I looked at the shimmering door, then back at the family. Time was running out. The shimmering doorway pulsed with a strange rhythm, drawing my attention like a siren's call. My heart raced as I realized it held the potential for escape, not only for me but for the family trapped behind the cage. Could I really leave them behind and seek my own safety? That question gnawed at my conscience, urging me to make a choice. The shadows thrashed around me, their laughter a cacophony of mocking taunts. "Choose!" The gaunt figure growled, his voice seeping into my mind, punctuated by the desperate cries of the family. "You cannot save them all." But as I stood there, the choice darkening my vision, clarity broke through like dawn cutting through the fog. I couldn't abandon them. I wouldn't leave them to the dreadful fate the shadows promised. With every ounce of determination I possessed, I turned towards the family once more. "Together!" I shouted, bolstered by an urge deeper than fear. I took a step towards them, feeling the warmth begin to spread from my core into my limbs. "We can fight this together!" With renewed strength, I reached out, and something shifted in the air. The blue light that filled the chamber pulsed in response, echoing my resolve. The family joined me, their hesitant steps edging them closer to the dissolving cage bars. I could see the spark of recognition in their eyes, a shared understanding that we were all part of something greater than ourselves. "Hold on!" I yelled, focusing every ounce of light and energy I had left. As I reached back toward the door, I felt their hands slip into mine like a tether binding us. Resolved, we approached the light together, the shadows hissing and thrashing as they realized the strength of our bond. I took a breath, feeling the power surge within me. "We will not be bound by fear," I declared, and with a fierce roar I stepped through the doorway. The moment we crossed the threshold, the world shifted violently. It felt like being pulled through a whirlpool, every sound and sensation twisting into a blur. I held on to the family as tightly as I could, the energy ebbing and flowing like waves around us. In an instant, the tumultuous chaos dissolved into a quiet stillness. I blinked hard, disoriented, the white light blinding for a moment. Gradually, I blinked away the glow and found myself standing in the mellow twilight of the forest edge. The trees loomed like guardians, but there was no laughter, no snide shadows lurking in the darkness. I looked around, my breaths coming in uncontrollable gasps. The family stood beside me, equally shell-shocked. The little girl's eyes were wide, shimmering with unshed tears, but there was no cage, no looming darkness. They were free. "Thank you," the mother whispered, wrapping her arms around her children. I could see the fear and uncertainty fade from their expressions, although, just like me, they were uncertain about what would come next. But my relief was short-lived. Torn between joy and dread, I felt a lingering echo from the hidden chamber, a weight unfurling in my mind. What had I really done? Had I saved them, or had I merely traded places with the shadows? The understanding of the unknown lurked just out of reach, gnawing away at my insides. I stole a glance back toward the forest, aware that the shadows were still in there somewhere, waiting. Could it all have been a figment of my imagination, or was it a fate I narrowly escaped? I struggled to make sense of it all, to reconcile the joy of their freedom with the smothering uncertainty heavy in the air. As the family walked away, I took a moment to ground myself in the reality of our escape. Yet I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that I had only deferred the reckoning. What had happened in that dark chamber would always haunt me, a question mark lingering at the edges of my consciousness. Taking a deep breath, I moved back toward my truck, the woods eventually slipping from view. I'd never returned to those depths, but I still sometimes felt the shadows watching from afar, an inexplicable whisper brushing against my neck as I went about my days. In those quiet moments, I often wondered what would have happened if I had turned back. Maybe I'd left something behind, a part of me entwined in that darkness. But I had made my choice. And now, I'd have to live with the uncertainty of what might come next.